Welcome back to Down the Frame, guys. Today we have a video about what to do when you're buying a used boat. If you're new to the channel, we're a DIY channel who picks projects, right now a boat, sometimes some home renovation stuff, and maybe in the future, maybe some car stuff. And we got a whole bunch of videos on this boat. It's a 1985 Bayliner Capri. We're about halfway through the restoration. We have rebuilt the engine. We had to tear everything out of the boat. And so we might not be experts in the boat field, but we have a few things that you can look for when going and buying a used boat because, well, probably the last few hot days of summer are here. And people might be looking to get rid of their boats before the winter. So some good deals might be out there. You just got to actually confirm they're good deals. So without further ado, let's get down the frame. All right, so obviously a boat needs to float in the water. And one of the issues that I've kind of come to realize is a big concern when buying a new boat is damage to the hull. Now, damage to the hull can happen in a whole bunch of ways. For us, this hull was actually perfectly fine. We ended up, during the demo process, putting a couple holes in it while we were tearing out the inside. So typically it doesn't happen that way. Typically it happens by bumping up into a rock or crashing with a dock or another boat. Now, people can fix these issues pretty much just cosmetically. So when you're going through a new boat or new used boat, check the hull. Look for any bubbles, any soft spots, like a delamination. Typically, it'll be a lot softer than the rest of the hull, just a little bit squishier, enough that you can push your hand in. If that stuff is showing, then that boat, more than likely, especially if you're paying a high price for it, is not the best purchase. You can also have signs such as like spider cracking, which there might have been an impact here, and you see a little bit of spider or kind of almost very faint cracking. That might not be too big of a deal. That might just be cosmetic, but it is an indicator that there may have been a hit there or there may be some structural issues to the hull. Now, before we move to some things inside the boat, I do also want to say that if a boat has an aluminum trailer, that's really good. Having a trailer that's in good shape, isn't stolen or anything like that, has the proper paperwork for it, that is a huge plus. So if you find a boat that, let's say, we bought this boat for $500, came with a trailer, it's an steel trailer, but there's no paperwork with it, we don't really know what's going to happen when we go to register it. We might have to get the authorities over here to come and register it legally. So to save you some headache, make sure that the trailer comes with paper as well as it's aluminum. It could be steel if it's in good condition. That's not too bad. Now let's get into the boat. All right, guys, we're in the boat, which is exactly what you should do before you buy your boat. Now, this may sound pretty self-explanatory. Get in the boat before you buy it. And what I mean by get in the boat is walk around. One of the biggest issues that you'll have with an older boat, you'll notice that it has a squish to it. Any soft spot in the decking is a huge issue that requires a lot of money or a lot of man hours and time and money to fix. An example of that is what happened to this boat. This boat is completely stripped. No decking. You can see the stringers are exposed, and we've been refiberglassing this boat. And the reason for that was when we took apart the transom, which is another big area. That's the back of the boat where the engine mounts to. And this is an inboard engine with an outboard transmission. If there's any signs of leaks or anything in there, the transom might be squishy and might need replacing. And a transom is a big structural part of a boat. In our instance, in the 1985 Bayliner, the transom literally held the weight of the engine. So any sort of structural degradation in that component could lead to a structural failure of the boat. Which brings me to the engine. Unfortunately, we don't have the engine back in this boat yet, but one thing that I always recommend when you're buying a used boat is if you can spend an extra $1,000 and actually hear the engine running, then do that. Because we had to rebuild our engine, which was 4-cylinder engine. It was actually outside of the boat already, but we ran into huge problems. It was seized up because people don't know how to properly store them. They don't know how to properly store them for the winter and maintain them. So if you can get a boat with the engine running, that is a huge plus. If you don't buy a boat with a running engine, expect to either have to buy a used engine or send your engine out to get rebuilt or rebuild it yourself, and it's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of money. You can do it, but typically I'd recommend spending the extra $1,000, $2,000 for a running boat. Now, I know that boats aren't that new, but fiberglass boats kind of are new in the sense that if you were to buy a boat in 1985, the techniques, the style, everything is completely different than what we would be doing things now. The newer you can buy, probably the better. Another aspect of inside the boat is the upholstery, which I don't have an example of because we have none of it in our boat to show off, but upholstery is something that can be cleaned relatively easily. I mean, obviously there are the exceptions, but you can also get them redone, typically for not crazy amounts of money compared to rebuilding an engine or rebuilding the boat. As far as the upholstery, I would say that's probably one of the last things on the list. If the deck is solid, you can redo the carpet or the flooring or whatever was on there. You can restore wooden pieces. You can, as long as the boat is strong, I'd say the least you need to worry about is the actual upholstery aesthetic. As far as the electronics, as you can see, we haven't used ours in a while. Yeah, I mean, electrical problems are probably one of the hardest things to trace down and fix properly for most people. Getting into boat electronics, if you were to go have somebody install new electronics, use all the proper wire with the proper insulation and the proper weatherproofing, that costs a lot. So make sure the electronics work because it can be a pain in the butt and it can cost a lot of money. I would say that's third on the watch out for. Number one definitely being the hull integrity, number two being the engine, and number three being the electronics. So now that kind of wraps up what I have for recommendations. One final thing before we go, I did want to say that when you're buying a boat, a lot of it has to do with preferences. So make sure you pick a boat that if you want to rebuild it, make sure you know what parts you want to rebuild. If you just want to rebuild the engine, make sure that the hull is solid. If you just want to rebuild a hull, just go buy a shell or go buy something that's $500 and you can spend a bunch of money to repair it. There's total value in that. I always love the idea of taking something old and making it work better than what it could that day. Bringing it up to modern standards, cleaning it up, and making it awesome. And that's what we're doing with this boat. We're trying to take all the best technology of today and make this boat excellent. But if you're not into that, spend the extra money. Don't go super cheap. Spend that extra $1,000, $2,000 to get a boat that has paperwork, that has engine maintenance records, that has no soft spots anywhere in the hull, no spider webs in the fiberglass. Make sure you get those things because a lot of people say that boat is not a word, it's an acronym, and it stands for bust out another 1,000, which it can definitely be that if you buy the wrong boat. The other thing is you need to buy a boat that's going to fit you for the amount of time you're going to have it. When you're buying a used boat, you're buying it for a purpose. If you're buying a fishing boat, go with a smaller boat. Go with something that you can tow around really easily. Maybe it's made out of aluminum, so you don't have to worry about fiberglass. Or if you're gonna try to just have it for next season and then stepping stone up to an even bigger boat, well then maybe get something that has a better resale value, like a bow rider or like a pontoon boat. Those can sell really easily. Make sure you do the proper maintenance, but obviously it comes down to what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to water ski or tube or anything like that, you need to buy a boat that has power to weight ratio to be able to pull people at that level or create that specific type of wake that you want, the waves behind the boat. So do your research. Now I can make a whole nother video on what to do when you get a used boat to make sure that it runs long and healthy. That might be for another video. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, check out our boat build. This thing's coming along and we're learning so much while doing it. We have so much help from everybody that comments down below, and if you're one of those people that are looking for advice, there's a lot of knowledgeable people down in the comment section. Jump down there and check it out. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time on Down on the Frame.